A logline is a sentence that sums up your movie. This is not to be confused with a tagline, which is a marketing statement that's just catchy, like Alien's famous tagline, "In space, no one can hear you scream." But this doesn't really tell you anything about the story of the film, really. A logline, on the other hand, is a one-sentence summation of what the film is about. Think of how movies are summed up in cable TV listings, or IMDb, or the newspaper, or Netflix, or whatever. These are essentially loglines. When writing a short film or a feature film, I always recommend starting with the logline. This really is the first step in my mind to writing a story. That one little sentence sums up all the main elements of the story. It briefly describes the protagonist. It describes their objective and their obstacles. The logline Heather, my co-writer, and I came up with for the assurance was, "Alone in the wilderness, a child struggles to understand the role her sister plays in the salvation of their dying world." This little sentence kept us on track through the whole process. It guided our writing, the editing, and helped us to stay connected to what the film is really about, the same way a mission statement might help steer a business. Now, our logline isn't perfect, and you could tell that if we had come up with a more powerful, more exciting, more clear logline, those juicy, dramatic elements would have trickled down through our whole film. Because of the twist in our film, we wanted to keep the logline kind of vague, and one of the challenges we had with the film, coincidentally, was that it wasn't clear. Our logline fails to describe the protagonist, really, other than just as a child, which isn't super descriptive or engaging. I thought about adding the adjective that she was a precocious child, which is, actually the case in our film, but it sounded kind of trite. I mean, when are child protagonists in movies not precocious? They kind of have to be, right? So we ditched it. Great films tend to make great loglines. A determined archaeologist races to find the Ark of the Covenant before it's discovered by the Nazis. After being transplanted by a tornado, a young girl adventures through a fantasy world seeking the help of a wizard to help her get back home. A young man stuck in the past struggles to return to the present day. Also, in contrast to a tagline, a logline isn't really meant for public consumption. It's to help the internal marketing of the film so that writers understand what their movie is really about. And so that writers and producers can help people funding or distributing the movie understand it in a clear and concise sentence. As we will look at a lot in this series, good writing is all about stripping stuff down to its very essence. This is both to eliminate details so that you can understand what the core of your story really is, and it's also because movies are expensive and time-consuming, and being economic about the way you tell stories will make the entire process so much easier. Once you have a concept for a film and can boil it down to a logline, you're ready to start planning the overall structure, which we'll look at next.